consistency that you saw in design, direction, acting, of the particular plays that we've seen so far. So what I'd like to do is start with just an open discussion about the finest examples that you could identify. So name the play and maybe provide a specific example of what you found was an exceptionally executed aspect of the production. Jess?
Let's just say August to start with, just with the characters, and they were all so fluid together. And
so is this a playwriting execution or an acting execution?
No, this is an acting execution. I think they all just knew their characters so well and what they were all doing with each other in the house.
So when you say they knew their characters so well, what do you mean by that? Because that's a bit, I'm being a teacher now, so that's a bit ambiguous. I think I know what you mean, but I want to make sure that you know what you mean. When they know their character, because I'm not sure what that means.
Oh, they just understood their relationship with everyone in the entire situation and where they've been. And
you never felt there was behavior that seemed unreal or out of the character, out of the world of the play.
No, and even when they weren't in dialogue, they were still on set, just going through them, just doing what?
Living in the world.
Living in the world.
Doing things like in the kitchen, like when the woman Joanna was in,
Jana
was in the kitchen doing her thing, or people are in different rooms preparing. Good.
I've never seen anything like
Maki?
that. Great.
Design-wise, among other things, I think I really enjoyed Oliver. I thought that was one of like the bigger sets that I saw, and I kind of, I don't know, I liked all the different looks that they had going. I really particularly like Fagin's whole little hideout thing where, the floor.
The reveal of that?
Yeah, the reveal of that. I mean, yes, it's the classic go off and then go in, but I don't know, I just like that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that out of all the plays we've seen as a class, I really, I feel like I could compare them with like the idea that they all used like simple props, like 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. I mean, they were just dressed in regular clothes and they had just a table of props and they were able to like put on an entire different scene just using a different hat or something. And even like I felt like in 12th Night, like they were in amazing costumes, but there was really nothing on the stage. And like they had that little flag thing at one point just hiding behind. You'd imagine they were like on a beach somewhere because of like the color of like the sky in the background. I don't know, I feel like a lot of things are very simply done, but they conveyed like really more complex, I don't know, ideas.
And you saw August too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, well
that was a much different kind of environment.
Yeah. I was thinking of all the ones we saw to get like.
Let's see, Paul, and then Kristen, then Nick, and then back to Mark.
I just think it's really interesting that the first show that came up when we were talking about the shows that we've seen here in London was a show that was designed, directed, written, and performed by Americans.
Well, what does that say about us?
We're just that good.
Perhaps. I also think I'm not saying
is it more accessible to us because we understand and we get some of the jokes that maybe
that's true. That's
and so we feel more inside that world, where other worlds, like for example in 50 Ways, there are references that we just can't understand, and we were talking about the Liverpudlian accent that was difficult to understand.
Difficult to understand for me as well.
And I didn't know it was. I was like Liverpool, okay.
Yes,
Didn't sound like John Lennon, but I don't know.
Yes.
But anyway, yes. You want to continue your point?
Oh, also as far as design and simplicity, I found it interesting that the two shows that had the simplest and most brilliant design, in my opinion, were Hamlet and 12th Night, both Shakespearean pieces. And I think one of the reasons is that Shakespeare is so rich, the text is so rich and so descriptive that you really don't need a lot. And that they basically had the same set, except that Hamlet had a mirror along the back wall, and 12th Night had that
shutters
and shutters that opened. I mean,
situation.
It was incredibly similar, and I found that really interesting. There was just a box basically for both sets.
Which was the other one?
Hamlet.
Kristen, then Nick.
I was just going to add on to what Jeff said about August, and like one scene that really stood out to me was when the sister was first introduced with her husband, and how they were like he was watching TV and just like drinking a beer, and like to me it was just like so real and raw, and like I just didn't feel like they were acting at all. I felt like I was actually watching like two married people kind of like arguing a little on stage, and it was just I was blown away by that scene. I don't know why, I just really was.
Nick, and then Jess. Oh, well, Mark, then Jess.
My favorite as far as execution, I think overall, I think it may have been one of the contenders is 50 Ways because I really liked what the director did with it. I thought it was so simple, and all you needed to do to take the entire audience from one group of characters to another group of characters in an entirely different setting was a change of props, or a small change of costume, and that's something that I really want to look into doing if and when I direct a show. So that I enjoyed that a lot. And as far as acting, my favorite execution was in August and in 12th Night.
Can we go more specific? In 12th Night, for example,
In
what
12th
would you find
in
very
12th
particularly
Night, I
executed
just-
well?
I don't know, I felt like each character, each actor really had a great sense of the text, and I just love when somebody can really bring out the richness and boldness in what they're saying and invest themselves to a real depth. And I felt that. I really, when the two walked on dressed as one another, and it was just a perfect moment. And I was just blown away by watching Derek Jacobi on stage, and just really enjoyed his performance so much. It got me all hot and bothered.
Me too.
But yeah.
It's extraordinary.
Is Derek Jacobi known in America?
Yes, probably not as much, but
Not as
yes.
big,
Kenneth Branagh, I think, helped make him more of a household name for America.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize his name, but I knew exactly who it was by face.
Me too.
He's been in a couple of movies.
Hamlet, I remember seeing him in.
He was in Gladiator. What? He was in Gladiator.
Of course, his most famous introduction was Masterpiece Theater of I, Claudius, many, many years ago. This tremendous performance. And actually in 12th Night he does one tiny bit of stuttering, and he's famous for his stutter. And Claudius, the character in the mess, is a stutterer. And then he also played on Broadway Alan Turing in Breaking the Code, which is about the man who invented computers, who was also gay, and it was just quite an interesting story, Alan Turing. And he also stuttered. And so there was just one tiny moment I thought I detected of him doing a bit of a stutter when Malvo always going, which is what, so it's sort of like Mr. Bean moment about it.
Does he actually display it, or does he actually have a stutter?
No, not at all. He's just really adept at it, and he became famous because of that performance with Claudius. He was Jess, and then Mark, and then Kristen, and then Rachel, and then Alicia.
Oh, wow.
We'll get there.
That's hard to
So
remember.
Jess, Mark, Kristen, Rachel, Alicia, and we haven't heard anything over in this corner, but when they wake up, you can say something. I raised my hand. Jess?
I think-
You did, and I ignored you?
I don't know.
Well, that's the way I feel about you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, then
I only have
you'll
a
be
corner of
after
your face.
How about that?
I think it's I'm getting like a completely new perspective because usually when I go see a show, it's just for the performance aspect. But now I'm sitting next to lighting designers and things like that. So at Edward Scissorhands, usually I'd just be like, ooh, pretty. But now I'm like, how do they do that with the lights and like the different things? I thought
What particular, can you be more specific?
with the cheerleaders behind the screen with the posters, I had no idea how that happened or how they did that. It was just like magic. It's like explain it to me. But
Those three girls look a lot like each other.
Yeah, they did.
that was just incredible. I've never seen lighting like
It was
that
actually
before.
one girl and they used some music.
And the houses.
It's interesting when they were all doing different things. Yeah.
What I liked about those posters, I just have to say this, that their hands were pom-poms. And I thought, and I really liked that little, I went, oh, that's nice,
Now, the girl who Edward falls in love with in the movie, isn't her name, is it Kim? Is that it?
keep on hearing Kim also.
Because I think that at one point the cheerleaders very subtly spelled the word Kim with their bodies.
Did they?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm almost
wow.
positive.
Marky.
Well, since we're on lighting,